Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is the 15th Pauri from Var Rag Maj Mahalla Pehla. Slok Mahalla Pehla. Tudh Bhavey, Vaveh Gaveh. Tudh Bhavey, Jal Naveh. Jan Tudh Bhavey, Kare Bibhuta. Sinji Nad Vajaveh. ਜਾਂ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਤਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਕਤੇਬਾਂ ਮੁੱਲਾ ਸੇਖ ਕਹਾਵੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਤਾਂ ਹੋਵੇ ਰਾਜੇ ਰਸਕਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਮਾਵੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਤੇਗ ਵਗਾਵੈ ਸਿਰ ਮੁੰਡੀ ਕਟ ਜਾਵੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਜਾਹੇ ਦਸੰਤਰ ਸੁਣ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਘਰ ਆਵੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਨਾਇ ਰਚਾਵੈ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਣੇ ਤੂੰ ਭਾਵੈ ਨਾਨਕ ਏਕ ਕਹੇ ਬੇਨੰਤੀ ਹੋਰ ਸਗਲੇ ਕੂੜ ਕਮਾਵੈ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਭੇ ਵਡਿਆਈਆਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੋਈ ਜਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਸੱਚਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਭ ਕੋ ਸੱਚਾ ਕੂੜਾ ਕੋਏ ਨ ਕੋਈ ਆਖਣ ਵੇਖਣ ਬੋਲਣ ਚੱਲਣ ਜੀਵਨ ਮਰਨਾ ਧਾਤ ਹੁਕਮ ਸਾਜ ਹੁਕਮੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖੈ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੱਚਾ ਆਪ ਪੌੜੀ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੇਵ ਨਿਸੰਗ ਭਰਮ ਚੁਕਾਇਆ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਆਖੇ ਕਾਰ ਸੋ ਕਾਰ ਕਮਾਇਆ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਹੋਏ ਦਿਆਲ ਤਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਧਿਆਈਐ ਲਾਹਾ ਭਗਤ ਸੋ ਸਾਰ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਪਾਈਐ ਮਨਮੁਖ ਕੂੜ ਗੁਬਾਰ ਕੂੜ ਕਮਾਈਐ ਸੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਦਰ ਜਾਏ ਸੱਚ ਚਵਾਈਐ ਸੱਚੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਮਹਿਲ ਸੱਚ ਬੁਲਾਈਐ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੱਚ ਸਦਾ ਸਚਿਆਰ ਸੱਚ ਸਮਾਈਐ. So in this passage, the Guru is addressing the manner or mode in which we do things. What is important is the attitude and the spirit with which we do things rather than what we are really doing. And the underlying thrust is that whatever we do should not violate the natural order of things, that it should be in harmony with our surroundings. So let's examine the first salok, in which he lists out a variety of religious practices that are very visible even today in India. So he says, Tudh Bhavey ta Vaveh Gaveh, Tudh Bhavey Jal Naveh. Starts off with Vaveh Gaveh, singing. Jal Naveh, dipping in holy rivers, or the ritual of dipping. So what he is prefacing each line in the slok with Tudh Bhavey ta. So all practice is meaningful only if it harmonizes the individual with the self. Whether it is singing, whether it is playing of instruments, dipping in holy waters, smearing of ash, blowing of the conch, whether it's a reading of Quranic scriptures, whether it is being addressed as a religious leader or scholar, Mullah se kahave, whether it is being a ruler and enjoying pleasures, hove rajye raskas bahut kamave, or whether it's being a swordsman in battle and sacrificing oneself, teg vagave, sir mundi kat jave. All of this is meaningful only if it is in harmony with hukum. Traveling to distant lands, there were lots of wandering yogis, and returning with stories to tell, jaye dasantar sun gallan kare aave. Again, it's meaningful only if it is in accord with hukum. All else, he says, sagle kood kamave. Everything is falsity except nair chave, the knowledge of the self, which comes by attuning oneself to the pane and brings harmonious bliss. ਜਾਂ ਤੂੰ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਭੇ ਵਡਿਆਈਆਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੋਏ, because you are great, all goodness flows from you. because you're eternal and the truth, Jatu Sach, Sacha, all that flows from you is true. So in other words, the Creator is the source of all goodness. It is good and true and eternal, and from it can only flow truth. And our lives, our speech, our sight, our conduct, life and death, all of this is fleeting. Akhan, vekhan, bolan, chalan, jivan, marana, taat. Taat has multiple connotations, but it also means to take flight, to run. Here it signifies the fleeting nature of everything. Hukam Saj, hukume vich rakhe Nanaka sach aap. Here's the clincher. Says Nanak, the eternal, it itself, sacha aap, it creates its law, hukam, Saj, and then subjects everyone to that law. Hukmi vich rakhe. And then in the Pauri, which is really the crux of the message, he says, Satgur seva nisang param chukaiya. So get rid of your delusions and doubts by serving, by associating with the Satgur, the enlightener, and do it without reservations or hesitations. Nisang. Come to the Guru. And it is through the benevolence of the Guru that your delusions will be removed and the mind will come to be fixed on self-knowledge, which grants you a perspective. And those who turn to the Guru Enlightener, Laha Bhagat Sosar Gurmukh Paya, they reap the true benefit of devotion. In contrast, the Manmukh, Kood Gubar, Kood Kamaya, the egocentric, remain lost in the fog of ignorance, and they come a cropper. They fail. They fall short. Sache de dar jaye, sach chamaiye. At the threshold of the eternal self is the truth revealed. What does that mean, to be at the threshold? It simply means to be at the threshold of higher consciousness, because it is from a higher consciousness that the truth is revealed. And Guru Nanak calls it dar. It's not a physical thing, but it's being symbolized as a doorway, a passage. This is the passage to a higher consciousness that is within ourselves. And it is in that domain that the truth is experienced. Sache andar mahal, sach bulaya. In that domain is the truth experienced. And says Nanak, the truth-oriented Satyar is then in harmony with the eternal self. So Tudh Bhavey ta is kind of the refrain that has been running through this. And this refrain recurs over and over in Gurbani. And what is implied is that our actions and deeds must really be in accord or harmony with Hukam, which is the law that governs the natural order. This is also what is meant by Hukam Rajai Chalana. And that's the emphasis in the first slok. And this is the underlying basis of Sikhi, is to recognize that there is a natural order. There is a providential ordinance that actually governs the world, including sentient beings like us. It is the law of Hukam. It is the cause and effect, the impermanence of the physical plane. And so our actions and deeds will really determine the degree to which we experience happiness or sorrow. It's as simple as that. And so the challenge really is in understanding Hukam and its operation. And to do that, we require the guidance of the Satgur. And the Satgur in Sikhi is Sabad. Sabad is anything that can be heard with the ears, essentially, but it's also the written testimony known to us as Gurbani. So we engage with Gurbani and we do it collectively in Sangat, moving together. So the question is, why is the Satgur essential? What does the Satgur do? So for a minute, consider this. Our normal mode of operation, the worldly mind, what does it do? It is primarily focused on physical reality. That is to say, it is experiencing reality through the physical senses, sight, sound, touch, and it is processing this information using a self-contained box of logic analysis, words, numbers, because it needs to create a logical structure of what it's experiencing. What the Sadguru does is how to use those dimensions of our minds that are hidden and latent to create a universal mind, which works not only on the physical plane that we are doing right now, but also on non-physical reality. Because the Guru says the non-physical reality is perhaps more real than the ever-changing physical reality. It is a deeper plane of information and in fact supports the manifestation of the physical plane, and so therefore is more meaningful. But to access this information, we require another set of senses that include instinct, intuition, aesthetics, emotions, feelings. We do this, we need to process that information not with logic, not with language, but by understanding the language of patterns as they happen around us. That is what gives us insight into things and events. When you have insight into things and events, you can control them because you can anticipate them. So the Guru, the Satguru, unites these dimensions of the mind into a unified perspective. That is what we call the self in us. It's a unified consciousness. In other words, all of your mind is at play, not just the superficial mind. So what Guruji is saying in this passage is that just working on the physical plane as we do in a myriad of activities is not very fruitful, because such actions do not have the insight that we need to evolve beyond our constricted ego. Work done at the physical level is not lasting. It is hopelessly entangled in cause and effect, in action and reaction. Essentially, it's the story of our lives. We are constantly acting, reacting. We can't anticipate what's coming because we lack insight. And it is that insight that we have to develop so that we can master ourselves and our environments and know how to react. So the perspective of the inner has a much greater impact on physical reality, and that is what really helps us evolve not only the individual, but also collectively all humanity. On that note, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.